and welcome back to Cast Album Chat with Tyler. So I really enjoyed the last video that I did that was just kind of a mini review of the 1969 London recording of Anything Goes. And these videos actually take a lot less time to edit, to research, to prepare for. So I thought I'd give it a try again and maybe do a few of these in between my larger videos. So you know the format, just a small little review here, and today we're talking about the 1981 Italian cast recording of they're playing our song, or as they call it in Italian, got it down here, stanno suonando la nostra canzone. Don't ask me why I picked this one out of all of the recordings of this show. I was kind of reading a conversation between some people the other day about the Spanish cast recordings that were coming out of Malaga, and the last show that they produced, next show is Gypsy, the last show that they produced before this, it was They're Playing Our Song. And I was talking about how I would love a recording of that production. Not that we don't have recordings of the show in Spanish, we do. But we don't have it in Spanish from Spain. We do have a Spanish recording, but it's in Catalan. And I think that they would do it justice because of the time period it's in. It seems like they did so well with A Chorus Line and company, keeping them with their original orchestrations. The orchestras both sound great on those recordings. So I went back and I thought, what is one of my favorite foreign language recordings of this show? And this baby is the one that kind of popped into my head for some reason. There are a lot of really wonderful recordings of the show. Broadway, London. We have 3 German recordings, which I don't really recommend. I'm sorry, not German, German language. There's one from Berlin, one from Bonn, which is out there. And then later on in the mid-80s, from Vienna, small bands, not really great singers, so you can kind of pass those up. But then we have some from all over the world, like I said, the Catalan recording from Barcelona, Mexican recording in Spanish, this is great, by the way, Mexican recording, a Spanish recording from Argentina, from Buenos Aires as well, actually 2, and I'm sure I'm probably forgetting another one in there, Australian recording, and then later on, we have another Italian recording, a Brazilian EP. So there are a lot of recordings of this score. The reason that I chose to talk about this one is I was between this one and the Argentinian recording, just because I think vocally they're probably the strongest. But I know that I have listened to this one more often because I have a better audio scan of this recording than I do of the Buenos Aires recording. I do have the other one, but I had to transfer it myself and my setup is not spectacular. So all that is to say that I went with this one because I really, really enjoy this recording, and it might be one of the recordings that I listen to the most often. So let me take you back. 4 years ago, we were all in the middle of the first wave of the pandemic. Everybody, I think most people were locked down. I was in Madrid, Spain. So really the only thing that I could do was kind of grow my recording collection because I couldn't do anything. They wouldn't let us leave the house for months on end. And even when they did, we could take like a walk for 1 hour in the afternoon/evening. So I spent a lot of time online and talking to my partner, and we finished Netflix. It's done. We watched it all. So I always end up talking about other recordings while I'm talking about this specific recording. But I had found a copy of A Chorus Line from Norway. Randomly, I had never seen it pop up before, so I had that sent to my apartment in Madrid. And then a couple of weeks later, I found another seller, this one from the United States, that had kind of a 5-pack of LPs that they were selling for about $20-25 from what I remember. It was this recording, and as you can see, it is in fantastic condition. I mean, even the whites are white, it's still glossy, not really a blemish on it at all, and has the original liner notes in here, which I'll show you later. This recording, La Caja Full from Berlin, the original 70s Mexican version of Mame. What else was in that sucker? This, Mame, La Cage. I'm looking at it right now. Promises, Promises from Rome, also in perfect condition. It's framed on my wall. And the reason I was talking about A Chorus Line from Norway is there was an even more imperfect condition copy of the Norwegian recording of Chorus Line in that package, all for $25. So it was a US seller, didn't want to risk having it sent over and then possibly having to send it back to the United States at some point. So I had it sent to my parents' house. I got back later in 2020, saw this precious package of perfect condition vinyls, and I was so happy to finally get to listen to a lot of them. So that is one of the reasons that I like talking about physical collecting, simply because I know kind of where I was or how I found it, what part of my life I was in, and it gives me sort of a special connection to, if not the musical itself, then the actual recording. So I was happy to see that this recording was in such great condition. I had heard it before. I believe this one, I just looked it up, I think it was on in the background. There is a version of this on YouTube in its entirety, so I'll add some little clips here and there, but you can listen to the whole thing if you just search by the artists here. I don't think that it's under the title of the show, but there's my little tip for you today, so you can listen to this wonderful recording. So as you can see, this recording and production starred Luigi Proieretti and Loretta Goggi in the two leading roles. It was from 1981, although I don't know if I saw a recording date on this sucker or not. I think on Discogs it says 1982 somewhere. Maybe I should look at the actual disc itself to see if there's a copyright date on it. But the show opened, I think it was November 1981 in Milan. I can't find any more information on when it closed, how long it ran, if it toured. Knowing that it was Italy, it probably did tour, because I think even in the beginning days of musical theater there in Italy, it's not a large country, and it's really, opera of course is very much part of their culture, but modern musical theater as it is, it still hasn't really caught on all that much. If you look at the number of recordings coming from Italy as opposed to other European countries, there are not very many. So I'm really happy to have this one. But kind of going back to the cast, the reason that I did choose this recording is I think that it is probably one of the most solidly sung, if not the most solidly sung rendition of this score. It has a lot of tracks on there. I don't remember, I probably should have counted. I guess it doesn't really matter. Sometimes people will split them up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's what I have on my track list here. So there are 14 tracks, and from what I can tell, that is the majority of the show, including some reprises in here. You know, like if you really knew me, Si me conocesse, and the reprise. They're playing our song, his version, her version, the complete version of Right, I think is the name of it in English. The song Right is called Mai, Never in Italian. Entr'acte, finale, it's all here. So this is a fairly complete, probably not note complete, but a fairly complete recording of the show. And like I said, it is sung so incredibly well by these two. And I can't really tell you which one I like more than the other. I just think they work very well together. They have a lot of chemistry on disc. And then just there are no vocal pyrotechnics. What I do like about this time frame is that you had, you know, the acting really came first, but as far as singing is concerned, we want for nothing listening to this recording. They're both well capable of singing their roles and giving it a little bit of extra flair that is maybe missing in some of the other recordings. The orchestra is conducted by Renato Zerio, and the translation is by Carla Vistarini. So those are kind of the credits for this thing. My Italian is okay. Translation is fine, I guess. I do know that at the beginning of the title song, Stanno suonando la mia canzone. I'm sorry, canzone. Canción is the Spanish. Canzone. She says, they're playing my song, Voilà mon chanson, esta canzone mia, or something like that. So she sings it in 3 languages, and then later on in the song, she just says, la 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 la. So I really have not listened to it in depth enough to really talk about whether the translation is fantastic or not, but it sounds good. Also a little shout out to the voices, the other, oh my gosh, what is his name? I'm gonna have to look this up. Didn't have to look it up. I found it. Vernon and Sonia, of course. So, you know, there are the two main singers in the show, and each of them has three backup singers, their other selves, really. So for Vernon, we have Mariano Brancaccio, Luca Nannini, and Marco Paolantoni. And then for her, there is Christine Kinnelly. Don't know if she was a British singer that moved to Italy or if she just happens to have a very Anglo name. Not entirely sure, but good for her. Fabrizia Magaglio and Viviana Meda. They all sound great. Sometimes in other recordings, I'm a little overwhelmed by either the lead singers or the background singers. But here I think that all of them work well together. So all 8 of the cast members singing mesh very well, along with the orchestra. There is a full orchestra for this production, as was the case with most recordings during this time. So like I said, the original, I'm gonna have to pull this out because it's gonna drive me crazy if I don't list all of these. The original Broadway, Buenos Aires, London, Sydney, Mexico City, Milan recordings all have the original orchestration from what I can tell. There might be some little differences here and there, but not huge differences in the actual instrumentation. Like I said, those 3 German language recordings, Berlin, Bonn, and Vienna, are just bands basically. So there's not a lot of texture there, no strings whatsoever. The Barcelona recording is also kind of threadbare. The Buenos Aires revival that also has Valeria Lynch and Victor Laplace, I believe uses a band as well, but they cover a lot of the parts that were in the original orchestration, so it doesn't sound as bare necessarily. The Rio single is kind of, I think it's just a band as well, and they kind of futz around with the arrangements. And I will say there was a 1998 recording of this show from Italy as well, that toured Italy, with Laura Maria Baccarini, I think it was, or Maria Laura Baccarini and Gianluca Guidi. Find that one if you can as well, just because it has the original orchestrations. Riccardo Viseo was the music director, and he was, if you like Promises, Promises, and you have the Italian recordings, you'll notice that there was a lot of care taken to make the sound very late 60s in that case, or late 70s in this case for this show. So definitely check out his recordings from Italy of those 2 shows. But back to the Milan recording. Like I said, fairly complete. The cast is wonderful. Really, Loretta Goggi as Sonia has probably more to sing in the show, I would say. You know, she does have kind of her big number in Act 2. Well, I guess he has a number in Act 2 as well. I don't know, I just feel like Sonia sings a little bit more in the show than Vernon does. But that's quite fine. I think she's only ever rivaled vocally by Gemma Craven probably in English, or Valeria Lynch in Spanish from Argentina. Which is not to say that the other Sonias are not great in their own way, but just as far as like vocal power, I think those are kind of the 3 that stand out for me. As far as packaging for this thing is concerned, of course I always have the vinyl. If you look at my video about how I organize my collection, the vinyl is in kind of a black box over here, and I keep it there for safekeeping, just when I want to play it so it doesn't get scratched and it's all uniform. But the packaging here, of course, you can see the cover. I've seen it in a lot of places. And of course, as far as scans are concerned, let me just say that the ones that originate for me, I try to do my best, but I will boost some color sometimes, especially like if the background is not uniform, or I'll kind of darken it just to make sure that things are uniform. I think the scan that I have, which is not my own, is a little bit closer to what the actual album looks like. If this helps at all, if you can see this a little bit clearer without that the ring light. I've seen other scans of this where she is magenta. I mean, I guess both of them are. They're a little pinkish here, but peachy maybe. But they are not, in fact, pink. So this is not like Avenue Q meets They're Playing Our Song. They just look like the regular logo that you normally find on the yellow background. Cool thing is we get this. I don't know that I have a scan of this necessarily. I'll see if I do. But there are a lot of production photos from the Nuovo Teatro in Milan. from at least the first stop. It looks like a fairly basic production. There's nothing just crazy about the sets or anything, but it is they have a full-size car on stage, so that's something. But you know, it's just a small show, small set, looks nice. And then we get the full synopsis here in Italian, obviously, kind of pointing out where the songs come in, what happens during the songs. And on the back, we get all of our credits for the show, not only for the show, but for the recording as well. It seems like the producer was from Milan, and it looks like this was also possibly recorded in Milan, WEA, can't really tell. But it's on Polygram Records, well, Polygram, Polydor. And then something else that's really cool, other than the synopsis you get the lyrics for the full show on the record sleeve. So there's Act 1, well, I guess it's not necessarily Side 1, Side 2, and then of course you get the authors, the original authors here down at the bottom. I don't really have much more to say about this recording, so yes, this will be a much shorter video than we're used to. So I'll put a few sound clips on here, but just know this one comes recommended for sure. If you can find it, it is a little bit more expensive than some of the other versions, but you know, if you are a fan of this show, definitely grab this one if you see it. If you're in Italy, if you see it on eBay, definitely give it a listen on YouTube as well, because unfortunately this is not an album that ever made it to CD, and is also, as far as I know, not available for streaming. So definitely check it out. This is the 1981 Milan cast recording of They're Playing Our Song. Thank you so much for joining me again, and until next time, bye.
Come si fa? La 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 la. Come si fa? Qui ci vuole una rima fantastica.
Ci sono motivi che io non posso comprendere.
La 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 la.
Ci sono parole da non mettere in musica.
La 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 la.
Cosa pretende? Non mi dà tempo. Non so risolvere tutto in un lampo. Sono confusa perché siamo in tre.
Ti stai sbagliando. No, stai riparendo. Non te ne fanno mai più.
Non ti impicciare tu.
Ma se vuoi proprio farlo, dai, ok. Ma fallo bene, dai.
Stanotte sì, saprò volare. Se con te mi porterai e nei tuoi occhi un mondo nuovo scoprirò. Nessuno si arrabbierà, nessuno si offenderà.